Bei Dali Dali, jeder sagt, das Klima ist eine Riesenkatastrophe. Doch bald brauchen wir nur noch Bikini und eine Badehose. Ich will nach Fastfood fressen, wenn auch schon Regen bleibt. Solange mein Konto voll ist und für mich noch Luft zum Leben bleibt. Alle sind Hammer drauf, keiner braucht mehr Angst zu haben. Keiner wird mehr krank, weil wir schon jede Krankheit haben. Und fliegt das Kraftwerk in die Luft, fängt jeder an zu strahlen. Hey, herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Ab heute bleibt nichts wie es war. Alles wird auf den Kopf gestellt. Herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Was morgen wird, ist scheißegal. Wir feiern, bis alles zerfällt. Überall sind Kameras, was für eine Riesenshow. Egal wer meine Daten hat, ich hab mein eigenes Video. Dank Überwachungsstaat kann ich jetzt selig schlafen. Jeder hat nen Chip im Kopf, liegt im Bett, jetzt zählt die Schafe. Alle sind fröhlich, haben ihr Botox-Lächeln aufgesetzt. Fettnacktes Auto, die Nase sitzt jetzt auch perfekt. Wir können so viel aus uns machen, auch für kleines Geld. Brust raus, Bauch rein, schön wie aus dem Ei gepellt. Aufgestellt in Reihe und Glied, ein Hoch an unsere heile Welt. Herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Ab heute bleibt nichts wie es war. Alles wird auf den Kopf gestellt. Herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Was morgen wird, ist scheißegal. Wir feiern, bis alles zerfällt. Uns geht es blenden, alles Lüge, was die Zeitung sagt. Ich betreibe Klimaschutz, mein Auto fährt mit Treibhausgas. Von wegen Öl geht aus, die lügen doch die Ölstaaten. Es gibt genug, wenn sogar Enten schon in Öl baden. Die Erde fühlt sich weiter und es geht immer schneller. Also wir zum Glück haben wir eine zweite Welt im Keller. Wozu den Kopf zerbrechen, es kann so einfach sein. Lasst uns einfach mit Computer spielen, unsere Zeit vertreiben. Herzlich willkommen hier bei YouTube in Heiterkeit. Herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Ab heute bleibt nichts wie es war. Alles wird auf den Kopf gestellt. Herzlich willkommen in unserer schönen neuen Welt. Was morgen wird, ist scheißegal. Wir feiern, bis alles zerfällt. Wir feiern, bis alles zerfällt.
Das letzte Wasser, was sie unten nicht mehr haben, jag ich jeden Tag den Garten und den Urlaub mitgefahren. Weil an den Zäunen viele warten, fliegt der Flieger übern Graben, mach ich so seit ein paar Jahren. Manche Inseln sind verschwunden und ich bin jetzt am Erkunden. Island 35 Grad, ich drehe meine Runden. Es ist Summer in the City und der Asphalt ist geschmolzen. Keiner kennt hier Regen, keiner kennt hier Wolken. Ist doch Hammer, dass heute jeder hier am Strand ist. Und Jakarta ist Atlantis. Der Pegel steigt und der Wein wird immer heißer. Statt für den Campari aus dem Eisfach. Der Pegel steigt und der Wein wird immer heißer. Statt für den Campari aus dem Eisfach. Der Pegel steigt und der Wein wird immer heißer. Statt für den Campari aus dem Eisfach. Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es geht 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit für den Summer of 69? Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es geht 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit, das wird der Summer of 2069.
Beste Leben immer weiter, nur ein bisschen heißer. Fütter die Flamingos an der Alster. Okay, diese Hitze, das ist echt nicht immer schön. Aber an die Überschwemmungen haben wir uns längst gewöhnt. Meine Klimaanlage, die läuft das ganze Jahr. In meinem Schlafzimmer Grad. Schatz, pack die Koffer, pack die Badehose ein. Wir haben's nicht weit, an der Nordsee wachsen Palmen. Super nice, fast wie früher bei der Kreuzfahrt auf dem Nil. Aber schon ein bisschen schade, dass es Holland nicht mehr gibt. Wir haben Glück, uns geht's gut, fast perfektes Life. Auf die Liebe kommen gestoßen an mit Sekt auf Eis. Wir haben Glück, uns geht's gut, fast perfektes Life. Auf die Liebe kommen gestoßen an mit Sekt auf Eis. Wir haben Glück, uns geht's gut, fast perfektes Life. Auf die Liebe kommen gestoßen an mit Sekt auf Eis.
Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es gibt 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit für den Summer of 69? Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es gibt 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit, das wird der Summer of 2069.
Bin auf dem Meer, das täglich neue Karten schreibt. Im Süden Beach, soweit das Auge reicht. Von meinem Ausguck sehe ich sogar ein Fleckchen grün. Und guck, die Algen blühen so schön. Mach das Beste draus, hab keine Wohnungsnot. Hohe Nächte in meinem Versorgungsboot. Meine Nachbarn und ich sind die Champions hier. Tauchen nach versunkenen Schätzen. Warme Drinks essen, alles und nichts. In meinen Netzen nur Quallen und Squids. Durch Wasser warten, in frischer Hose. Fernglas im Arm, Ananas aus der Dose. Durch Wasser warten, in frischer Hose. Fernglas im Arm, Ananas aus der Dose. Durch Wasser warten, in frischer Hose. Fernglas im Arm, Ananas aus der Dose.
Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es gibt 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit für den Summer of 69? Die Straße glüht, schickt die Kids mal rein. Es gibt 100 Tage lang hitzefrei. Das Thermometer steigt. Seid ihr bereit, das wird der Summer of 2069.
You know how it is once the weather get hot. Everything on my side is looking alright. You know how it is once the weather get hot. Shit.
Ja, also. Wundervoll. Jetzt nach einer kurzen musikalischen Pause könnten wir tatsächlich weitermachen, dadurch, dass wir eine Rede von einem Arctic Base Camp member from India. We have someone here. So yeah. Woo!
Hi everyone, my name is John Paul Jose. I'm an environmental and climate activist from India. So Arctic Base Camp brought me here. So I would like to, So Arctic Base Camp brought me here. So I would like to thank the Arctic Base Camp team and also the local strikers here because we are striking here. So as you might know what's happening in India, like we have like heavy heat wave and also flood, and at the same time there is like it's going to affect farmers, and it also got influence on the global wheat crisis we are facing now. So our government, like you might have seen, the Indian government have launched over there. So they are attracting investments, but like there is no investment in India without keeping farmers and climate in mind. So it's very difficult in India to live because even my region is completely under climate crisis and emergency. And I come from an agriculture family, so we are highly impacted by the climate crisis. So I am here in Davos to speak science and what we are happening or what's impacting in India to the audience in Davos, because that's a global audience and it's a big platform. So they should hear us from the people who are on the front lines. Thank you.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! When? Now! When? Now!
Power to the people. Cause the people got the power. Cause the people got the power. Tell me, can you see it? Tell me, can you see it? Getting stronger by the hour. Getting stronger by the hour. Power! Power! People! People!
Auf die Welt zu kommen und trotzdem ist es irgendwie passiert. Dass wir uns schließlich selbst erkannten und alles ziemlich scheiße fanden, hatten wir das Wichtigste kapiert. Nochmal, das war Kacke. Dicker, bei dir läuft Blut aus der Nase, aus der Visage, direkt auf die Straße. Zu viel geflogen, zu viel gezogen.
So we're going to listen to a little bit more music, and then in a few minutes we're going to hear the next speech, so stay excited.
Platte voller Blei, egal, ab in die Born. Ich knall mir alles rein, was mir in die Finger kommt. Ich bin 10 Meter gewachsen, die Welt wird zu Lego. Die Stadt ist so klein für mich und mein Ego. Und keine Nacht für niemand, keine Nacht für mich. Denn ich bin immer noch mal und warte nur auf dich. Ich bin nicht mehr da, ich bin da mit niemand. Ich bin nicht mehr da. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Morgen kommt raus, wenn die Sonne untergeht. 30 Grad im Schatten, aber alles kann nicht stehen. Ich muss mit dir reden, auch wenn du mich nicht verstehst. Weißt du vielleicht auch irgendwo nach After, aber geht nicht eng. Savant ab, wie Jabala hat. Ein bitterer Geschmack bleibt im Rachen hinab. Was geht ab? Die Pillen machen wach, die ganze Stadt dreht Sonnenbrille in der Nacht und es geht mir gut, wenn du mich suchst, ich bin auf Entzug oder unterm Zug. Ich tanze 6 Stunden, ich tanze allein, aber warte Mann, gleich setzt die Bassline ein. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, ja, shimmy, ja, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Und keine Nacht für niemand, keine Nacht
will mehr, denn ich bin immer noch frei und warte nur auf dich. Ich bin nicht mehr dran, ich bin schon mit dir, ich bin nicht mehr dran. So mehr. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, 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 shimmy.
wenn ich sag, was ich denk, krieg ich was von den Bullen, wenn du hast, was ich brauche, dann nehm ich dir, wenn ich belebe ich daneben, das Leben ist direkt mir egal, was da kommt, ich mach nicht mehr mit, mein Gesprächsbedarf ist auf ewig gestillt und ich nehm noch einen Schluck und dann laufe ich los mit dem Kopf an die Wand, Farbe zu rot, es juckt mich ein Scheiß, ob ich mir selber schade, ich bleib mir treu, wenn ich meine Ziele verrate, ich leg bin am Schloss meiner Frau, die mich hasst, endlich hab ich's geschafft und nichts aus mir gemacht, ich brauch keinen Stab, der mit Zugel am Neck, ich bin anti-alles, weil die Attitüde hier steht, Anti-Lockern ist das, was mir gerade noch fehlte, Freundschaft zerlegt eure Dame Pakete, und sich vorgenommen, niemals auf die Welt zu kommen, und trotzdem ist es irgendwie passiert. Also was soll ich tun, wenn die Arschlöcher kommen, weg in die Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion, es ist schon sein, dass die Lumpenhaft-Korruption. Macht, was ihr wollt, aber lasst uns in Ruhe, ihr seid 80 Millionen, die man abschaffen muss. Alle die Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion, alle die Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Ich bin die Gegenpartei gegen die Gegenpartei, ich geh nicht gegen Parteien, denn ich bin Gegenpartei. Meine Umgebung ist peinlich und mein Benehmen ist scheiße. Weil mir nichts bleibt, als dagegen zu sein. Was macht keinen Sinn, ja dagegen sind so viele so schnell. Doch euch gar nicht zu bemühen, ich wär nie so wie ihr. Was auch immer ihr wollt, ich bin feindlich gesehen und den ich eigentlich einzubringen. Euer Widerstand ist Attitüde, alles eine Farce. Also speite ich mich ab und ich halte es wie die Marschwasser. Denke nicht dran, im Club beizutreten, der bereit ist, jemanden wie mich aufzunehmen. Ich kämpfe mit der Polizei gegen Occupy 20. Verprügelt sind die Truppen von Stuttgart 21. Da braucht man gar nicht drüber reden, denn die Massen sich erheben. Schmeiß ich aus dem Flugzeug eine Kampfbombe auf Kries. Wir hatten uns nicht vorgenommen, niemals auf die Welt zu kommen. Und trotzdem ist es irgendwie passiert. Also was soll ich tun, wenn die Arschlöcher kommen? Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Es ist was sein, was die Lumpenhaft-Korruption. Macht, was ihr wollt, aber lasst uns in Ruhe. Ihr seid 80 Millionen, die man abschaffen muss. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Ich bin die Demonstration gegen die Demonstration, über das Megafon, jeder verstummt und hört die zu. Grüne Parolen für mehr Integration. Ihr redet zu viel, erwartet zu viel, nicht der Weg ist das Ziel, denn das Grab ist das Ziel. Eure Lieder sind tief und sie helfen den Menschen. Ich höre unser Album und hau mich selbst auf die Fresse. Scheiße, was für peinliche Musik. Ich weiß schon, wohin mich das eines Tages führt. Ins Kissen gestülpt, sitz ich am Fenster, als Verbitter durch Länder beschimpfe Kinder und Penner. Ja, das sind ja rosige Aussichten, wenn ich morgens aber kann ich verlassen, meine Ausblicken. Und um mich zu reagieren, verlasse ich das Haus und die Stadt zu demolieren. Wir hatten uns nicht vorgenommen, jemals auf die Welt zu kommen. Und trotzdem ist es irgendwie passiert. Also was soll ich tun, wenn die Arschlöcher kommen? Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Es ist was sein, dass die Lumpenhaft-Korruption. Macht, was ihr wollt, aber lasst uns in Ruhe. Ihr seid 80 Millionen, die man abschaffen muss. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Also was soll ich tun, wenn die Arschlöcher kommen? Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Es ist was sein, dass die Lumpenhaft-Korruption. Macht, was ihr wollt, aber lasst uns in Ruhe. Ihr seid 80 Millionen, die man abschaffen muss. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Allergie, Aggression, Anti-Alles-Aktion. Wir hatten uns nicht vorgenommen, jemals auf die Welt zu kommen. Und trotzdem ist es irgendwie passiert. Als wir uns schließlich selbst erkannten und alles ziemlich scheiße fanden, hatten wir das Wichtigste kapiert. Nochmal, das war kacke. Schlafen, vor meinem Urlaub, aber ich soll auf die Straße.
Hello. So, we're going to continue with the program, and I'm very happy to announce that we have here with us an activist from Ukraine, Ilyas. He traveled here, he had to flee because of the war, and he's now going to speak a little bit. So, a very big applause for Ilyas.
Hello. Hello, my name is Elias Nakate. I am a climate justice activist and I am from Ukraine. I'm in Davos to speak of a war in Ukraine because Europe is dependent on fossil fuels owned by dictators as Putin. Fossil fuels as main cause of climate crisis we are fighting against in our movement. A climate crisis happening here and now, today in Europe. The youth climate movement was demanding to stop the climate crisis our generation, as you know, didn't cause. So I am here to speak for peace and climate justice. Such is the new reality for environmental activists like me or like you. All these years, as an activist, we were kindly demanding those in power to make decisions, listen to the science, and take emerging climate actions, just to keep it under 1.5 degrees for a safe future. Should we wait for the... Then I will start it from zero for the recording.
You can continue.
Davos strikes back.
Next to you? Yes.
It is here, Nikolai. Oh, so as you heard, the ring is belling. Time for actions. It's okay.
After this, it should be over. No, it's done.
Okay. So all these years, young climate activists were demanding those in power to make decisions, to listen to the science, to keep it under 1.5 degrees, and to take an emerging climate actions, just for a safe future we deserve. I will probably say the obvious: war in Ukraine is caused by climate inaction, because countries in Europe are depending on fossil fuels that are owned by autocrats, dictators like Putin. Now every day after this full Russian invasion, I now see dreams. I see dreams with my friends from Kharkiv, from the days before the full-scale invasion, how we were organizing strikes, how we were having a student life. But now, those are the days that can never come back, because 2 of my friends are now dead. We were striking together for a future. We were demanding just a fair life, and now they cannot return. We cannot get back. And I feel I can't express it with my words, how this hate I feel towards some of the leaders here who just keep ignoring the climate crisis. We came here and probably we noticed how many of the people, of the leaders and businesses just continue acting as usual, as if nothing has happened. There is no wars in the planet, no wars in Europe, or why they were caused. With my friends, we were demanding on climate action. We started striking against a crisis usually didn't made because we see how people decide over us, depriving us from our rights. All we were demanding is a just life and a safe future. That today, children and families lost in a war in Ukraine every day because of the richest countries being dependent on fossil energy of autocrats and doing like if nothing happens. We do live in strange times when humankind can make the impossible possible, probably for people like me in Ukraine and for the planet, which will be remembered in the biosphere. So leaders, you make the impossible for many of us living. Arctic ice is melting. The climate crisis is happening and changing the entire planet, killing our nature, making people starve. I couldn't imagine that leaders would be able to do more than that. They finance wars. They finance destruction because of their greed and personal egoistic profits for fossil energy. They destroyed my house, my life I had. They killed my friends. They made my family move. Even my cat isn't happy with that situation being right now in Poland. I mean, it's just insane what is happening. I wasn't thinking I would be ever in Davos for World Economic Forum because it is not my place here. I wanted to continue my studies in Ukraine. It is not only a war like in Ukraine, it is right now the front of climate crisis in Europe. Because they cause hunger because of the war in Ukraine. War in Ukraine is causing food crisis and impacting global food prices, threatening the most affected peoples and areas. And now fossils or life, it is the choice leaders are making on behalf of us. Millions of refugees are fleeing the most affected countries. Now you make us flee from Ukraine. And in only 2 months, there is over 12 million of refugees from Ukraine, the UN reports. Why the rich minority and leaders can make their life easy and fancy? They dare to come here to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, but also for the night parties they have every night. The obvious is ignored. Such a wars shouldn't happen. Those wars are caused by fossil fuels, resources we were striking against, resources we actually no longer need. They keep saying that they want for us cheap energy, but cheap contracts can be made only with the evil. How can I trust leaders personally in their ability to tackle climate crisis, to listen to our demands if they ignore wars as obvious in the front of their doors? They finance wars, like the global north countries finance wars just next to their homes. And I don't know in which world those people live. And personally, I feel really discouraged after coming here to Davos. I come to Davos because there is a war in Ukraine. I tried to speak to people. I tried to speak to journalists, but cameras were turning around. The truth was ignored. But now, activists are coming more and more to conferences like this. They make us come to the top, such as in Davos Mountains, because they renounce the truth, such as the wars in which people live at the bottom. And the truth is obvious. You can't make us people, you can't use of our people's most basic needs, such as in energy, such as in gas, for heating houses, for cooking our food, just to make us pay and finance wars, just to make profit to the middle persons who owns this fossil energy. The truth is obvious, really. Trading fossil fuels, as it was in the beginning of when European Union was built, on trading coal and steel, is no longer actual. You can't trade with dictators, and you can't make friends with dictators. You can't finance dictators as Putin in Europe. Switching to another fossil energy, as for me, is not acceptable. I heard that Germany wants to start importing more fossil fuels from Qatar and from the east of Africa, financing by this other autocrats, financing by this or provoking more wars. It is not what we need now. We need climate action and peace action, because winter is coming, and I personally don't want those leaders in Europe being dependent on fossil energy owned by Putin. Those who continue saying they don't like how renewables look like, I hope they don't like how tanks those or wars. So the truth on actions of leaders is now coming, and now it is only a matter of time. I am looking for leaders' actions. Thank you. What do you want else? Peace and justice. When do we want it?
Now!
What do you want?
Peace and justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I hold here in my hands a sign I was using since the first climate actions in Ukraine. It says Youth for the Climate. It's from my first climate strikes from Ukraine. Activists in Ukraine, as you know, war started in 2014 from the invasion on Crimea and invasion on Donbass. So the climate wasn't really popular in Ukraine, but we were standing in solidarity. We were standing in solidarity with the most affected people and areas. We were standing and building a civil and youth movement in a post-authoritarian country such as in Ukraine. It wasn't easy for us, but we were standing, and many of Ukrainian climate activists still continue to stand, because we understand that there is no future without climate action, because such a war as in Ukraine is caused by climate inaction. If at least 1 year ago there was diversification of energy in Europe, war in Ukraine should not happen. All of this should not happen. And who could imagine what will be in the future? What do we want?
Peace and justice.
And
Peace and justice.
yeah, we want climate action and peace and justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this speech. It was really interesting. The next speech that we have is from Alexandria. She is a climate activist from the USA. So yeah, welcome her.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Villasenor. I'm a 17-year-old climate activist from the US. So this is my second World Economic Forum. I came here when I was 14 in 2020, and I definitely have a lot of thoughts, and if you go to my Twitter, I've been very critical of the World Economic Forum. Capitalism is one of the root causes of the climate crisis today. It is not a solution. The solution to climate change is not any of the versions of capitalism that are being pushed here at the World Economic Forum. Not shareholder capitalism, not stakeholder capitalism, not environmental capitalism. And you walk up and down the street here in Davos, and everyone here seems to think that capitalism and economic growth are the answers to the world problem. And there's a reason for that. To be blunt, this is a really privileged crowd. Most of the people here are insulated from the climate shocks that are causing loss of life and the destruction of ecosystems and communities around the world. It's also an exclusive crowd and an overwhelmingly white and male crowd here in Davos. And a lot of people here are overwhelmingly from Western global North countries. As a matter of fact, my organization, Earth Uprising International, I actually founded with Kevin Matai, a youth activist from Kenya. And I tried to bring Kevin to the forum with me this week, but there are so many barriers for him, from badging to visas to funding. It made the trip impossible. Because of all of these barriers, the World Economic Forum lacks the representation and diversity needed in decision-making spaces to get the solutions needed to address the scale and urgency of the climate crisis. I'm here doing everything I can to remind the people in the room here what's at stake and who's missing from these rooms. This week, there are less than 10 youth activists who have received some kind of badge for the forum, and that's completely unacceptable. This forum is inaccessible to young people. Either it's too far for a young person to travel, or too expensive because they can't find funding to attend, or the forum itself excludes them and says they can't be involved. This actually happened to me this week, because despite being invited to speak inside the Hotel Seehof by 4 different organizations, I arrived here in Davos and was denied a hotel badge. They denied me because of my age. The forum's rules say that they don't allow anyone under 18 into the hotel for any reason. So I had to add, right? It's completely not okay to keep young people out of these conversations. And so I had to advocate for myself through the forum, and where I was, I had to advocate with these organizations to be able to get inside, where I was given a one-time exception to attend my speaking engagements with the condition that I be chaperoned by an adult at all time. When this is the world young people are inheriting, and these are the people that are designing the future world that we will be expected to live in, we must have a seat at the table. I'm going to finish up now, but I wanted to leave you today with one more thought I have. Scientists have been giving us dire warnings about the state of our planet and what we need to do. And I believe there's still hope and time to transform society into a sustainable future. I know that youth play an outsized role in generating hope for the future. Youth have the power to show world leaders what our planet and humanity could look like. Youth create the sense of urgency that influences our leaders to act, because it's our future that's at stake. And lastly, youth are the ones in this movement who are centering equity and justice in our solutions and showing our leaders what an equitable and just future and planet looks like. So I'm so glad that we're out here protesting, showing them that they need to be listening to us. Thank you.
Once again, thank you for this really well done speech. We actually have a speech more, actually, a few more, but the next speech is Elizabeth, and she is a climate activist from Kenya.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Wathuti, and I'm a climate activist from Kenya. And this is the first time I've been to Davos and the World Economic Forum. I've spent the past few days trying to draw attention to the fact that the humanitarian crisis I described to the world leaders at COP26 has only worsened since last year. More than 20 million people across Africa are now facing extreme hunger due to a record-breaking drought. And the war in Ukraine is adding a new and terrifying dimension to existing levels of food and water insecurity. I have heard people saying many things inside the forum and outside the forum. But what I have experienced this week are two parallel universes, and the mood is very different on the outside. The people out here want to see the end of rising inequality. They want to see the end of decision-making processes where the only people around the table are rich white men. And they want governments and businesses to stop their doublespeak and address the climate crisis with the urgency it requires. There's a huge disconnect between what is going on in there and what is being demanded by the people out here. We have been here before, pledges made and not met. Powerful people doing everything they can to buy more time for business as usual. It is not okay for leaders and companies to continue to say one thing but do another. Lives and livelihoods are at stake. And what is needed now is honesty and dignity out of respect for the people who are on the front lines of this crisis. And this is what the people on the inside at Davos need to keep being reminded of. We reject your pledges and your promises. We reject your ecocidal economic system that sees nature destroyed faster than it can regenerate. And we won't stop holding you all to account. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Caim Silvestre. I'm from Brazil. And my message here to the global political and business leaders is, please take action. The climate crisis is threatening not only my community in the Amazon region in Brazil, but the entire humanity. And every year they unite here proposing the international agenda, but as Alexandra from the US well said, they always push young people back, and that's unacceptable. Another world is possible, yes, but we need to include young people in the discussions, and we need to keep protesting because they really need to listen to us. The scientists have been showing us for decades the path we need to follow to keep the planet alive, but they have failed. And there is no time left. The time is running out. And if they do not take action now, it will be too late. Actually, it's already too late. So I'm very grateful for being here with you, climate activists from all over the world. What we are doing is impressive, and we really need to keep doing that, because if we do not do that, they won't change anything. And we need some changes. So thank you so much. What do you want? Climate justice. What do you want? Where do you want? Now. Thank you. Fora Bolsonaro. Woo! Amazon in, Bolsonaro out. Amazon in, Bolsonaro out. Thank you, guys.
The last speech will be in 5 minutes, and until then we'll listen to music again, if that's okay.
Dicker, bei dir läuft Blut aus der Nase, aus der Visage, direkt auf die Straße. Zu viel geflogen, zu viele Zeugen. Guck, die Probleme sind klein angehört. MDMA, Amphetamin, ich hab den Hals nach meinen Leuten Heroin. Ich hab seit Tagen nicht geschlafen. Bin ich verrückt oder kommt es jetzt noch? Viel Solitude, Gedanken voller Blau. Ab in die Born, ich kann mir alles zeigen, was mir in den Finger kommt. Ich bin
Hello. So now that a few more people showed up, we would like to take another picture. If we would be up for taking a picture, that would be so cool. And we could again gather just around the people with the shiny vests. So if you could all just gather around them and yes. Did the people in the back hear me?
Say again.
Dear people in the back? Awesome, thank you. And if we could move the sides a little bit more into like the middle, so that the picture is not awesome.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! When? Now! When? Now! Keep it in the ground! Let's keep it in the ground! Keep it in the ground! Let's keep it in the ground! Keep it in the ground! Let's keep it in the ground! Keep it in the ground! Let's keep it in the ground! Keep it in the ground, let's keep it in the ground. What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! When? Now! When? Now! Brecht die Macht der Banken und Konzerne! 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 Brecht die Macht der Banken und Konzerne!
Awesome, thank you so much. We are unstoppable, and now the world is possible.
We are unstoppable, and now the world is possible. We are unstoppable, and now the world is possible. We are unstoppable, and now the world is possible. We are unstoppable, and now the world is possible.
And now, I would love to announce the next speech, the last speech before we have the open mic. We're probably gonna hear it from some other people again. And for that, I would love to welcome Vanessa Nakate from Uganda.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining the climate strike. It's really important that we continue to organize and mobilize because the climate crisis is continuing to affect so many people, so many communities, especially in the global south. There is really a need to continue platforming and amplifying the voices of those on the front lines, because we cannot have climate justice if certain voices are being left behind. And we've seen what has been happening in this place. Most of the conversations are about GDP, about economic growth, but there is no conversation about how we are going to address the climate crisis, how we are going to help the people that are already vulnerable to climate impacts. And that's why our voices are really much needed to continue speaking the truth, to continue talking about the science, to continue highlighting the inequalities of the climate crisis and how those who are suffering the most impacts are the ones that are least responsible. Many people in this place are disconnected from the reality that is happening. They're in their own world, they're in their own bubbles. They don't really get what we mean when we say that, you know, this is a crisis, this is an emergency, this is something that is leaving so many people devastated. People are experiencing loss and damage. So it's not something that, you know, it's not something small. It's something that is really huge that we need to continue addressing, that we need to continue talking about. So that's why it's really important that we have, you know, activists in these spaces, because it seems like, you know, the world may think that the discussions in these places are for all of us, but in the end, no one is talking about the reality of what is happening on the ground, and that's where our voices are really needed the strongest to continue speaking the science. The IEA has made it very clear we cannot have any new fossil fuel, you know, projects, but then there are no conversations about phasing out fossil fuels. So we need to continue talking about why we need a transition, a just transition to renewable energy for the communities that are on the front lines if we want to have, you know, a chance of limiting global temperatures below 1.5 degrees, and also if we want to support and help those that are on the front lines of the climate crisis. So let us continue speaking the truth to power and talking about the science of the climate crisis and holding governments and business leaders accountable for their actions, because that is how we will be able to get the kind of future that we want, you know, the kind of future that we dream of. We have, you know, we have the right to dream of a future that is clean and sustainable. And we also have the right to fight for that future. Remember that the people in this place, it's all about business. It's all about profit. But then where the priority is on profit and business, then it means more people are going to continue suffering with droughts and cyclones and floods and, you know, loss of their cultures and loss of their islands. So we have to keep speaking, and we have to keep holding the leaders accountable for them to know that we want climate justice and we want it now, and we are not going to give up on dreaming about the future that we want, but also we are not going to give up on fighting for that future. Thank you.
Thank you for this speech, and thank you everyone for coming. The official program is done, but we do have an open mic, and someone decided to have a speech spontaneously, so yeah.
Hallo, ich bin Roserin aus Kurdistan. I don't know speak English. I am sorry. Ich vertrete aus den Beziehungen der Kurdvereinigung. Am 17. April 2022 startete der türkische Staat einen neuen umfassenden Angriff auf das kurdische Volk und ihre Selbstverteidigungskräfte HTG in Südkurdistan, Nordirak. Die schweren Luftangriffe, der Artilleriebeschuss, und die Bodenangriffe konzentrieren sich bisher auf die südkurdische Region Sab, Metina und Awashi. Letzten Berichten zufolge haben wir erfahren, dass sie die chemischen Waffen eingesetzt haben. Wir wollen dies an die Presse weitergeben. Chemische Angriffe töten die Natur. Wir wollen ein ökologisches Leben und wir wollen eine Welt, in der der Kapitalismus nicht dominiert. Dafür kämpfen wir als Volksbewegung weiter. Und in Rojava haben wir einen anarchischen und feministischen Autonomen in Westkurdistan geschaffen. Wir bauen es weiter aus. Wir wollen unsere Stimme auf der ganzen Welt Gehör verschaffen. Die Angriffe sind derzeit sehr stark. Dieser Angriff richtet sich nicht nur gegen kurdischen Ökologie auf. Wir möchten, dass sie es in der Presse teilen und es der ganzen Welt zu verkünden. Systemchance not Klimachance. Widerstand ist Leben. Belfadagiane.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this speech. And now you must.
Hi. My name is Richard Green. I just happened to be here today, and I'm so moved. Great to see Callum again, and so grateful for what your organization is doing. And I just wanted to tell people, because I teach civics, I teach politics, I teach how to have your voice heard in government. And we have an election coming up in the United States where the United States absolutely can, if young people turn out, absolutely can lead the world in accomplishing every single thing that you are fighting for. And I just want to explain that. It's called the midterm elections. It happens November 8th of this year. It is an incredibly important election. If we elect, with the help of young people, if we elect just 2 more United States senators who believe in fighting climate change, who believe in creating renewable energy jobs, who believe in moving away from fossil fuels, if we elect 2 more United States senators, Democrats, we will have the ability to pass every single one of those things. We have this stupid rule in the United States Senate. It's called the filibuster. We have 51 senators, a majority in the Senate, but this stupid rule says that you need to get 60. But we just need 2 more Democratic senators to change that stupid rule. How do we do that? How we do that is by having people take action, not just showing up on Fridays with signs, which is incredibly important, but by voting. In 2014, in the midterm elections in the United States in 2014, 21% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted, 21%. In the last midterm election in 2018, 31%. But older people, 65 and older, voted 60, 65, 70%. So we're going backwards. But if young people can get the message that we need you to not give up, we're on the 2-yard line. We only need 2 more Democratic senators to change the rules in the United States Senate and pass everything so that the United States can help lead the world and set an example as we should. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you getting that message out to people. We have to vote in addition to marching and protesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, if anyone else wants to take the mic, say something, feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'm very thankful for you all being here today, for protesting with us against this WEF, for protesting against this inaction, this greenwashing, and the destruction of our future. Thank you so much for being here, and I think we can scream some. I'm sorry. We can shout some stuff at the end to get loud one last time, and then close out the rally. So. So, what do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! When? Now! When? Now!
Awesome, thank you so much. And I just heard from someone came whispering this to me. We should take one last picture, they said, because when we took the picture like this, all the brands were in the background, and it looked like we were ambassadors for like Sport or something. So we might just want to turn around to have the municipality in the background to have a stronger image. So if we could take this one last picture, that would be wonderful, and then thank you so much for being here.
Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
Men vet inte snabbt nog flippet skiet med danska kinder och försöker fyra.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Power to the people. People got the power. 'Cause the people got the power.
Tell me, can you feel it?
Tell me, can you feel it?
Getting stronger by the hour.
Getting stronger by the hour.
Power!
Power!
People!
People!
Power!
Power!
People!
People!
So, I just heard, a scientist just arrived, a Ukrainian scientist who helped write the IPCC, and I think that's a chance we can't not take. So I would welcome you to the stage for a few last words. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Actually, it's, I guess I'm here by chance, but in fact I need to use this chance to speak to you from this scientific point of view. Yes, I'm a scientist. I'm Svetlana Krakowska from Ukraine, and I was leading also and still leading also of UN panel on climate change, IPCC reports, which actually show us that we are in a really very desperate situation where we need to act now. But in fact, since I'm not only climate scientist, I'm person and citizen of Ukraine, so I can speak even more because, well, the war in Ukraine just makes the situation much worse, and not only for Ukrainians, but for the whole world, because all countries will actually, they will suffer with what we have. Well, I hope you visited this pavilion of Russian war crime, and you saw what happened in Ukraine right now, and it's absolutely devastating for my people. But at the same time, I understand that climate change will not stop. So anyway, we will need to deal with all these crises in one time. So with this, I understand that young people, in fact, they need knowledge. They need to be educated. They need to be on high level of education to speak more strongly to policymakers, and maybe to become actually policymakers and become businessmen, business women who will make this responsible business for our planet. And I first time actually in Davos here, and I see around just came from Kiev. Well, 10 days ago I was actually in Ukraine, in Kiev, and last this air alarm was just on the border when I crossed the border from Ukraine to Poland. So it is still very unsafe in Ukraine. But you are here in safe environment. You have possibility to study more. You can study these IPCC reports. Please study them. Please take messages from this report and go and share this knowledge across the globe. The more people will know about our situation, the more chances to stop climate crisis, war, the more people will actually value this planet, the more possibility for us to live on this planet in a sustainable way with all other creatures on this planet. And usually I say, we used to say, we and nature, but in fact, we are nature. So if we not extract ourselves from the nature, if we feel ourselves as part of this environment, of this planet, you will not harm this planet. Of course, we don't have planet B. Yeah, it's obvious for us. But in fact, what we need safe environment, and we need it for everybody on this planet. And I fully understand all other nations in different places, because I traveled a lot from Arctic to Antarctic. I met people in many places in Africa, in South America, and all of us have the same problem. All of us, we have just red blood. So we are very similar, in fact. So we are all humans, and we all need common values. So please don't give up in this climate, your strikes. We will not give up in Ukraine. So we will fight, and we will win for all of this planet, in fact. So please keep going, and please be learning more and more. So thank you. And stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you so much. Thank you. Awesome. And I think with that, we're coming to a great end. Thank you so much for being here. Let's have one last thing. What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When?
Now!
When?
Now!
Woo! Thank you!
Дякую дуже, що вийшли.